something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with a crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King, where I try to educate you through criminal stories about the criminal justice system. So there are always so many questions that I'm asked every day by citizens about their cases, about charges being filed, and this is where I try to educate, answer those questions. This is the format for that. Tonight, I usually have two guests, and tonight I have my regular co-host, Mr. Danny Sneed.
AKA the Encourager.
AKA the Encourager. So, and also, but our special guest tonight is Tavares Coleman, AKA DJ Famous.
Mr. Famous, that is.
Oh, DJ Mr. Famous. Okay,
Yeah,
DJ Mr. Famous. All right. The reason why we've talked to Tavares before, because I've done about over 250 shows, but we've talked to him before. But now he's written a book about his prison experience, and he wants to talk to us about that book. Tell us, Tavares, the name of your book.
Salvation from a Cell. It's a book that I actually wrote probably about a couple of months now.
Oh, you wrote it this year?
Yeah, this year.
Okay.
Just finished it. It was a how would I say this? A process. It didn't just happen overnight. It was some bumps here, some valleys here, and eventually I pushed through it, like we was talking about earlier about consistency, and that's what I had to do. I had to remain consistent through it all because it was always a dream of mine, or a vision of mine, rather say, to manifest that, along with taking that story and kind of building on other aspects of it, like as movies or TV shows, what I'm saying. But, yeah.
So tell me what was interesting about your life. I know we visited before years ago, but remind me about your childhood. I know you're from Louisiana.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me, who is Tavares? Who were you in your formative years, like when you were up through high school? Tell me who you were.
Well, the book actually gives you a good introduction to that, and if you ever get a chance to look at it, it talks about, for one, my childhood and being raised in, a housing project with my mom. One of 4 kids. Mom, single parent, had a stepdad, but was very abusive. Always wanted to fight on my mom, and for me, being a young kid, that actually stirred up a lot of anger in me. And the reason why is because I could not do what I wanted to do as a kid to him. At that age, I actually wanted to kill him. He was my stepfather, but seeing him put his hands on my mom, I didn't like that, and I actually wanted to take him out.
Let me ask you this: was he the father of any of you, the 4 of you?
None of us.
Okay. Was your biological father around?
No, my biological father actually is Colombian, but he actually lived out here in the 3rd Ward in Houston. So that was always a desire for me to actually come to Houston to get acquainted with my father. And eventually I did when I got older, But now my dad was actually out here in Houston.
Okay. So then you had a stepfather that was abusive to your mother.
Yeah, very abusive.
How old were you when you were watching this abuse? Approximately.
About 5, 6, in between that range right there.
Oh yeah, so you were really too young to do anything.
Yeah, and then my mom eventually bought me a BB gun for Christmas, and oh my God, that begins the process of me now developing the mindset of what I wanted to do, him in particular, because of all the anger that I had stored up inside of me. Seeing him go through that with my mom, or rather seeing my mom go through that with him.
I mean, what was he fighting for? I know this is through the eyes of a kindergartner. Mm-hmm. You were a small child, but do you remember the rage, or like what he would be saying, or what he was? I mean, in a child's mind, I know you have to go back and see through a child's lenses, but
I don't know if it was jealousy. Kind of sense that was kind of what was going on. Could have been with my mom. But when my mom, she's a little short lady. She's about I guess 4'11", 5. She had a mouth though, you know, and to this day, my mom can say some stuff, but you know, I don't know. She probably was triggering it. I don't know, but for the most part, it was a constant back and forth thing with abuse with them. And I remember, you know, one night that me and my mom and my siblings had came back from, I don't know, it was from some event. And when we got home, my mom was paranoid. She was trying to be mindful of him being somewhere in that house or around there waiting for her to get back. And in the book, it kind of tells what happened that night. But just briefly, we got to the project house, and when we got the car, my mom told us, you know, to go inside. If you see anything, because she was still getting some stuff out the car, say something. You know, in other words, if you see him, say something. And so we go. Me and my little brother walk down the hallway to the back room where our room was at, and we look and we turn on lights and things like that. We don't see nothing, but just right when we thought it was over, we opened the closet door, and at the top of the closet, he was just coiled up, you know, like just sitting waiting.
Like a snake.
Like a snake, exactly, like a snake. And he jumped down. And when he jumped down, I said, Mom, he here. And so we started running, and he started running behind my mom, and my mom started running outside. And as he started running behind her, in the middle of the street, he started beating on her. And he started beating on her real bad. She
What
fell
was
on
he
the ground.
beating up for? Did you know?
I don't know what the whole fight was about. He just liked to fight on her, you know what I'm saying?
my
He was just very
God.
abusive. And I was out there trying to stop him, and I jumped on top of him, get off my mom, you know, I'm trying to hit him. And I went back inside and went got a broom, you know, and I took the broom, came back, and I hit him side his head. I kept trying to hit him, and somebody pulled me off him, and he took the broom out of my hand. He took the broom and he started hitting my mom with it.
Oh
And
my God.
what happened? He ended up putting this big scar on my mom's face, and her eye was all black and bruised. Face was all messed up. She was in the hospital for several days. And of course, my grandfather, he was a pastor at the time. He got wind of what happened, and he came to the area. He brought his 12-gauge shotgun, and he was gonna kill him. He just couldn't find him that night. And from there, though, anger.
I wonder what the person
Built
who
up.
pulled you off of him didn't try to pull the man off your mama.
I don't know. I don't. What they was trying to do is save me as a little boy, thinking I
So
was
he
going.
wouldn't get hurt.
Yeah,
so you
right.
wouldn't get hurt.
Do
Right.
you and your mom ever process what happened that night?
Oh, of course.
Or during that time?
Yeah, we've talked about it several times over the years, but I still don't know what happened that night, like that brought that on. I just know that he had been abusive with her for a while, and she stuck with him for a while. But
And this is in the book?
yeah. In the book.
And so from there, what are your next memories?
The next memory from that point was me actually being taken from my mom. Well, actually, no. I actually took off and ran. I ran that night and that evening to a friend of mine, a cousin of mine who had a little store in the community. And I tried to hide under the pinball machine so my mom won't find me. And it just so happened, she come walking through there. I'm looking at her under the pinball machine, and I can hear her asking, "Hey, cuz, you see my little boy, Tavares?" And I seen them point straight down at where I was
Oh,
at.
it's just
Now that's when she was
snitch.
beat up, or
Huh?
a different day?
No, this was a different day.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. You asked me what happened next.
Uh-huh.
What happened was that, I'm sorry, I skipped the story. I actually ended up shooting somebody with that BB gun that they had just bought me. And
How old were you shooting somebody with
I was still 5 years old. This actually spun out after him
So
hitting
instead
her.
of shooting the man that shot you, that did your mama, you
Well, what
shot
happened
somebody
was
else.
my mom and him actually ended up getting back together.
Oh no! After you put it in the hospital.
Yeah, and part of him reconciling with us as the kids, for me, he bought me a BB gun. You know what I'm saying? And so when you ask what was next to the story, that's mainly what happened. I ended up getting, it's in the book, you know, right there, that I ended up getting a BB gun. And that produced a whole bunch of emotions in me, because now I have a gun. You know, at least I'm thinking I have a real gun. And that right there, you know, started me on the path of wanting to shoot people.
Oh my
you know?
God.
Yeah, because I had all that rage in me, all that anger in me built up from watching my mom go through that night. Yeah. Yeah.
And so as you got older, like in junior high and high school, what was your behavior like?
Well, you know, I was always a nerd. You know, I was a smart kid, but coming from the project, you know, you always had to somewhat have a complex about yourself, you know, where you just couldn't be looked at as a nerd. You
Gotta
know?
fit in.
You got to fit in, and not on top of fit in, but you also got to be ready, because you're going to be tested. You're going to, be looked at as the smart kid, and you're not the bad kid, and so you're always getting tested in the areas of fighting and stuff like that. So I started getting in fights, even in my elementary. But when I got into junior high, that's when I started seeing a decline even in my grades, only because around 13 years old, that's when I actually started smoking. I started smoking weed around that time and popping pills, trying to hang with the in crowd, the popular, because that's what they started doing.
Them the cool kids.
Yeah. At that time they were drinking Cisco. You know what I'm talking. You remember Cisco?
Yeah.
Getting full of the liquor and going to the school dances, and you just wanted to fit in and be part of the crowd. And so therefore, that's what started, causing my life to start to go even downward, because now I'm getting involved with stuff that I never got involved with, and hey, that right there starts to set up the premise of the rest of my juvenile life up into my early adult life, which became worse. Yeah, it got worse. It got worse. When I say it got worse, my story started developing where I ended up catching another charge, which was a possession of marijuana. And
How old were you then?
I was 16.
So you were still in school, or had you quit school?
I was 16, making 17, and I ended up getting in trouble at 11. Burglary to the police post office. So we ended up getting 2 years probation. It was a federal crime, and they couldn't give us no federal charge for that because we was juveniles. But that was my first brush in with the law.
Who idea was it to break into the post office?
Well, in those days, it was people was putting money in postcards.
Oh, Lord.
At that time, it was.
But was this your idea?
Oh no, it was mine. Well, it was a group effort. I would say that.
It was a consensus.
it was
Everybody
a group
agreed.
Because at 11 years old, you're not really thinking about money in a postcard.
That's what I'm saying.
Not at 11.
Well,
Not as 11-year-old.
It's in the post office.
Right.
I had to say that.
You must have been following behind some people.
Well, I always say this. I always say this to people. My mom loves us. Don't get me wrong, but she gave us a lot of freedom. When I say a lot of freedom, we was able to roam, and by us roaming a lot, we was always finding out stuff, And apparently, I had a friend of mine. He's passed away now. He hit me onto it. He actually told me about it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Somebody planted
somebody
this
had
seed
to
in
do
your
it.
mind.
Well, what it was, we was all together.
Right.
And I think he had heard about it, whatever. So we went together into the post office to see what was going on, and then we doubled back. And that's how we was able to get all that out of that.
Did y'all get away?
No, because the only reason why we didn't get away, we took all the money out the postcards and took the postcards and threw them on the road, and that was the trail they found.
Oh my. We did the same thing, but we broke into the Borden's ice cream and stole all the ice cream sandwiches.
What is up with the stealing when y'all are little boys? Oh, my God.
It wasn't my idea. I just carried
you
the ice
did
cream
it.
sandwiches.
Yeah, but you
box.
wanted it.
And we ate ice cream all the way home.
Right, because it was
and
melting.
the detectives followed the trail of ice cream to our neighborhood and started knocking on everybody's doors. And this is about you. Mm-hmm. But when he came to my house, my mama went home, thank God. He said, I'm looking for Danny or Ricky, wherever he said he was looking for. I said, he lived down there about 2 blocks. So I was a kid back home, so I sent him to my home, not my homeboy house, but somebody else's house, 2 blocks away.
Oh, you gonna tell the truth? Nah, it was 50 years ago.
No, because my
Now you sent it to your
I
homeboy's
would
house.
not go
But
on
that's how
record
low.
saying
That's
I
how low
snitched
down
on
you are.
somebody.
You did it. You did it. You did it. You sent it to somebody else's house. That he probably didn't even do it. That's what snitches do.
So they followed the postcards.
Oh no, you want to get it off you now? Yes. Okay. So anyway, they followed the postcards home. All right. Well, let's get to high school. What did you do in high school?
Well, high school.
Well, you said 13. That's middle. 16 POM charge.
16, catching the possession of marijuana charge, then getting arrested the same night for curfew. Well, high school, I am pretty much all the way out in the drug game. I'm selling, I'm robbing, I'm cooking, I'm doing everything. I learned the streets now. I'm out there. And so 17 years old, I'm in high school, in my senior year. I end up getting busted for distribution of crack cocaine. And I was actually supposed to go to court after I got busted and I ended up missing court. And what happened was, this is my senior year in high school, 4.5 classes. I missed court. They ended up having a contempt of court warrant out for me. Well, this what happened. When I found out, I actually turned myself in. And when I turned myself in, I went back to court while I was incarcerated. The judge offered me 7 years. And this was my first adult charge.
He knew you was a student in school.
And now that was still in Louisiana?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it adult age 17 also in Louisiana?
Yes. Yes. Well, what it was my juvenile record. He was basing everything off the things I had done as a juvenile. Even I got
yeah,
caught
postcard stuff.
you know, and some other things that ended up happening. But you know, he's saying that you look at your juvenile record.
You a menace.
Pretty much, that's where he was going with that. And so he was like, I sentenced you to 7 years of hard labor in Louisiana State Penitentiary. I'm like, huh?
At 17.
I told her, you know, it was the DA at the time, the public defender who was actually representing me. And I said, hey, because I was still in the clothes from jail. I said, hey, you need to go talk to him. I'm in school. And so she goes up to the bench and she bargains with him. And so, he tells me, you talking about you in school, you should have thought about that when you was out there doing what you was doing. He said, you know what? I'm going to give you a year. And I'm going to suspend the 7 years and give you 5-year probation with a 7-year suspended sentence, which means if you break that 5-year probation, you're going back up to 7 years I was offering you. So that senior year, I spent in jail, my whole senior year.
So he still made you do a year in jail?
Yes.
Wow.
I did the whole year in jail. And, what's crazy, what happened was while I was in there, being that I already was in the streets, I wanted to get more organized. I felt like selling drugs and I got busted. That's something need to change about that. So I picked up this book about John Gotti and how he had organized the family that he had
So
organized.
you're going to study to be a better criminal?
Yes, and that's all I did. I read in and out how he got started, what he did. And so that became the new mindset I picked up. So when I got out, I only lasted for about a good 2 months. I went to a shipyard to go weld, and eventually I got fired. And once I got fired, I was back into the streets robbing right after that. And I couldn't stop. And I got shot when I got out. A robbery went bad one night. I got shot, almost got killed. They unloaded their guns on me, and just so happened I just only got shot one time in the back. I know it's God's grace that I didn't get killed that night because the way they were shooting.
Paralyzed. You got shot in the back.
Yeah, the way they were shooting, they was trying to kill me. It was 2 people. So, but this
Was it like a home invasion or a car or what kind of robbery?
No, I was on the streets. I went up. I had developed a very bold mindset, to go anywhere and do that kind of stuff. So
you just saw 2 people walking and you robbed them?
Well, it was 2 drug dealers.
Oh, so you were trying to rob drug dealers?
Right. And I took some friends with me that night, and I was trying to teach them how to do this stuff too, because I was, trying to lead them into gang life.
Was that in the book? In John Gotti's book?
No. Well, actually, it is. Pieces of it, yeah. Yeah, it is. Actually, it's in there. Because I was fascinated by, watching organized crime. I was fascinated by how, they put things together, and of course, seeing the ins and outs of it all, and knowing that it's a possibility this can happen. And so I started building my life from there. And slowly but surely, not only I began to build my life from the streets as an organized criminal, I began to run an organized gang, Yeah.
So
Vivian.
what do you mean you ran with it like you were the gang leader or you joined a gang? What do you mean?
I was the gang leader.
So you created your own gang? Was it a name gang or it's just you were doing gang activity?
We actually called ourselves a murder gang.
Damn.
Vivian, if all the interviews I've sat on, and you sat on more than me, have you ever met someone that went to prison and said they were going to study how to be a better criminal intentionally?
People are being more honest and they're being more forthright about their stories because, I'm still fascinated by last time we had a guy that told me prison makes predators into super predators. I mean, I'm fascinated by that. So 2 weeks ago, I got fascinated by something, and now I'm fascinated by this, saying that you're in prison and you're learning to be a better gangster.
I'm studying.
To be an organized gangster.
Yeah.
So, but that's the uphill part of this criminal activity. Then we come down and there is going to be redemption. So stay here with us. Stay here with us while we watch this. We're fascinated because we've had, hundreds of shows and never heard this before, but it's always about education and redemption. So let's get away. So you studied it. I mean, at least he's being honest about it too, because a lot of people really don't say that, even though they go in and out of prison 3 times, Danny. I mean, people go in and out. So I'm actually fascinated by somebody who goes in and out, but they actually studied it, trying to be better. But you still get busted as soon as you get out. You rob a few people, but you try to rob some drug dealers, and they shoot you before you shoot them.
And that's the thing about it, because even though I'm getting into this life of coming to organize things, I'm really also trying to weed out who is actually, able to hang in this with me. So I got
committed like you.
Right. So I got, some friends with me that night. I brought them with me, and when they started shooting, they took off running. And so when I got shot.
So what did you do? Were you shooting back?
Well, what happened was the gun got jammed.
Your gun got jammed.
Yeah, that's how I was able to that's how I got shot. When I went to shoot the guy, I actually put the gun on his chest right here and shot, and some kind of way he moved. And when he moved, the bullet went straight through here. And when I went to go shoot again, the gun got jammed.
Wow. So
your intent was to murder him.
I was gonna murder him, yeah.
Oh my God, you was a gangster, Tavares. So I'm getting a note that we have a call waiting. So caller, ask your question or comment. Thank you.
Hey, Vivian, this is Kevin Bruno.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How about you?
Missing you from the studio, but what's your question or comment?
Okay, I'm coming. I had a wreck, so I'm hurt, but I'll be there. My comment was this. One of the things that, with the 28 years I spent in prison, and I heard the question asked, had you ever heard of anybody going in prison and studying to be a better criminal? Well, that's one of the things that we used to do.
Yeah.
We didn't go into prison thinking about rehab. We didn't go into prison thinking about becoming a better person. We were trying to be a better crook, because you don't go to prison and tell other crooks that you try not to be a crook.
Okay.
I agree with you, Bruno. I just didn't go to the library and check out any books on how to study it. I listened to a lot of day room stories, had a lot of good sellies, taught me about how to cook, what the ingredients was, and the breakdown.
Well, see, he wanted to be a criminal of a different caliber.
Because he's a nerd, remember? So he's a nerd. So he gets him a book.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to be one of these hood crooks. He wanted to be a John Gotti type crook. And I understand that when you're in that criminal mindset.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he was smart enough to read the book and try to figure it out. That's deep. That's deep, Bruno.
Yeah, I'm going to be processing this for a while.
All right, call us back, Bruno. That's deep. But I hear you.
Okay.
I hear you.
Get well soon, man.
Get well. We hope you get well from that car wreck, sweetheart.
All right.
But so anyway, so you studying John Gotti, you went to murder the guy, take his dope or weed, or what was it? What were you taking?
I don't know what it was gonna be. I just gonna,
take his stuff.
Yeah, once I lay him down, I was gonna just go ahead and just get it out of him.
But it didn't work out.
Gun got jammed. It was God's grace for his life.
You said when he moved away, then what happened?
He moved so quick. I know it wasn't himself. I just believe it was just not his time to go.
Right.
Because I was intentionally. I put the gun right here, and I really was trying to kill the man. And the gun just got jammed. And when it got jammed, I turned around and tried to run. Well, I did run. And as I started running alongside this fence, they were still in the street. All I heard was, da, 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 da. And right when I got to the fence, that's when I felt that bullet hit me. Boom.
Bam.
And when it hit me, I just fell off the fence. And I started to crawl on the ground because it started raining real hard. And I don't know if it was just raindrop, but I knew they were still shooting at me because I could see the bullets hitting the water, right where I was at. But none of them touched me.
So it wasn't your time to go?
It wasn't my time. So I eventually.
So they didn't come and just put the gun in your back. They just left.
Well, what happened is just I guess they shot all the bullets they had in their gun because it was so many shots coming out that gun, and I think that's what scared my friends and took off because they were supposed to come around. I told them, I said, hey, if you hear some gunshots, I want y'all to come around and bail me out. You know what I'm saying? But them boys left. When I finally got up after I heard them more gunshots, I went about 1 or 2 streets. My car that I drove down there. All 5 of them was in the car, because there was 6 of us that night. And all 5 of them in the car. So I get in the car, I'm like, man, where y'all was at? They're like, oh, man, we heard gunshots and we started running. I said, oh. And I was mad. I went to cussing them, talking crazy to them, letting them know.
But you shot up. So how you talking crazy? You need to get to the hospital, don't you?
The adrenaline was going.
Okay.
It was going. The adrenaline was going. I feel it. I'm just like, take me to the hospital. So they all nervous and stuff. You know, and I literally had to drive myself to the hospital because they were so scared to drive, all nervous and stuff. So I actually drove myself to the hospital. Yeah.
How long did you have to stay in the hospital?
About 3 days.
So it didn't hit anything vital, like no bone.
no.
I mean, where did you get shot? I mean, was
It came in through here.
Did it go through you, or was it stuck
Nah,
inside?
it's still stuck inside to this day.
Oh, you still have it in there?
Still have it.
Oh, they didn't take it out.
Now when it get cold, I feel it.
Well,
All
why
these
don't they?
years.
Why didn't they take it out?
Well, they say about if it went in and tried to take it out, I would be paralyzed from waist down. So they had to keep it because it's only like a couple of centimeters away from my spine.
Too risky.
But how does it not move while it's inside your body?
Because the tissue stopped it.
Okay, and the tissue just stays there and
kept
gets
it.
around it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's,
It grows around it and kind of
but it
like
doesn't grow immediately.
over time.
Over time. So even now, like I got in an accident 2 years ago. An 18-wheeler hit me, and I was supposed to go take an MRI. I couldn't take the MRI because the bullet is still starting inside of me. They don't want to take the chance of putting me under that magnet.
It
and that
pulls it.
Bullet get pulled out of there.
Damn.
So every time I take an X-ray, they always ask me, "Hey, you got shot?"
So you can take an X-ray, but not an MRI.
Not MRI. It was a 45 bullet.
Wow.
Pretty big bullet inside of
Were
me.
you still in Louisiana then?
Yes, ma'am.
What city?
This actually was in Homer, Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
That's where my mom's from.
Homer,
Yeah, a lot of.
Ironically.
Yeah, I mean, I ran all through.
That's
I
a
was born.
small little old spot.
It's not that small. People think it is, but it's actually pretty nice size because it's stretched out, you know?
But it's a rural area.
Yeah, but they're dangerous. South Louisiana, dangerous, period.
Yeah, they probably got meth labs and all kinds of things.
South Louisiana has always been dangerous, man. Whether it be Homer, Thibodeau, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, you know, this is very dangerous young men out there.
So when you got out of this, you got out of it. What happened with your life after that?
Well, it didn't stop, you know. That same week, coming out the hospital, I'm laying on mom's sofa. A friend of mine called me, "Hey, man, you got some weed?" I'm like, "Nah, bro, I knew who do got it, though." And so I got out the house. I go holler at my homeboy in the project. And I will actually leave and go get my pot. And then we come back to the project, and I jack him. I take his weed from him.
Your friend?
Big, yeah.
Oh, you didn't have no
He
loyalty.
was about 6'5", you know, big old boy.
No fear.
I took his weed and just, you know.
Were you a bully?
I couldn't say I was a bully. I just didn't care. I don't know, you know, going back to the childhood experiences, all that had been developing over years. Even though I was a nerd, I was not a nerd where I was a scary guy. I was just a smart guy, but I still was rough around the edges. I had a temper. My mommies always say, you know, you're going to end up in jail before you're 21 years old or you're dead because that temper you got going to get you in trouble. And literally, I would get in fights because I didn't want nobody playing with me. I would feel played if somebody trying to clown me.
I have a good question for you. When you were in prison on the block, were you intimidated on the block?
No, not one bit. Not one bit.
So let me ask you this: before you got on rob this guy, and you said the judge had told you to spend 1 year in jail, 5 years probation, 7 years in prison. Did you do that 7 years?
No. Well, let's keep going.
Okay, so then the robbery. Okay, keep going. Okay.
So
you.
I ended up taking my homeboy dope. Not even my homeboy. He just lived in the project, but I know him. You know, take it, and eventually he comes and breaks my car window because once we go get the weed and we smoking, I come back to my mom's house, laying on the sofa. I still got, you know, the medicine in my body. I'm still trying to heal. And some little kid come knock on the door. He's like, "Tavares, man, Clay, man, mess around and hit your windows on your car." And so I come. Well, Mama, she in the kitchen, and when she heard the boy telling me, she knew I was gonna get up. She said, "Don't go out there." I opened that screen door and walked out that sidewalk. He's walking back down to his sister's house, talking much noise. You
The
know,
6'5" guy?
Yeah, but he's big. And so everybody coming out the project because they know what time it is. They know it's gonna be a fight.
Yeah, it's World Star time.
So I'm walking down now, he's talking crazy, I'm talking crazy, like, you know, I'm not gonna back down from you. So I get down there by his sister's house, he square up, I square up, and he take a good lunge at me. You know, I'm shorter than him, so I duck, because he threw so slow. When I ducked, I just jumped up and hit him side of his face, and when that happened, he just came on down, you know, and I just got on top and kept hitting him.
With a bullet in your back.
With a bullet in him, yeah.
A fresh bullet.
I limped all the way down there to fight him.
A fresh bullet in his
You were
back.
limping
I
down there.
limped all the way to fight him with the bullet in me.
Fighting with a bullet in.
Yeah.
Just
I know.
fearless.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
This-
Just crazy. I mean, really, just crazy.
I mean, that was my life, you know what I'm saying? And so, you know,
I mean, just crazy. You got a bullet in your back, and you fighting somebody by breaking your windows. When you
No, not just
Well, when
anybody.
you stole his
Debo.
6'5" monster, and when you stole his dope, he break your window.
And
Now
you mad.
you mad, and you gonna fight
He
with a bullet in
Craig
your back.
fighting Debo.
that's the way it went down, brother. You know?
And you whooped him, and you limping. So after you finish whooping him, you limp back.
Well, what happened? No, as I was on top of him hitting him, his sister comes out with a board and she hits me dead side of my head.
Oh my
Get
God.
off my brother!
Oh wow, that's the.
And when
project.
she hit me with my head, I grabbed that stick and I told just like this. I said, "I'm coming back and kill you, you, and all of y'all." And so, went and got my car, got the guns, came back. Everybody was gone. The household was cleaned out. There was no car in the yard. They knew me. They knew what kind of life I was about, you know. So I had a lot of respect in the project. You know, my mom had moved back to the project. We grew up in the same project, but she moved back when I was coming out of jail at 17, 18 years old, you know, after I took that year sentence. And that's what I was mad about. I'm like, Mom, why would you want to move back? Because this ain't the same project we grew up as a kid.
That's
it's
real
run
rough.
down,
It's
it's
run down.
rough, there's no street lights, the pizza man don't come, the taxi cab man don't come.
Cause y'all gangsters ran him
No,
off.
he there.
No, they were doing that before he got there.
Yeah, they were doing it. I just amped it up. I amped it up. I ain't gonna lie to you. They were happy too because they was looking for somebody to lead it off. And so whoever was the roughest in the project, when I got there, we joined forces. And that's from there we became that clique. And there was no stopping it.
Now it's territorial. You come to our neighborhood, our
and-
projects, you got to go through us.
I mean, we had a system going, and this was the first aspect of my running with an organized crew. You
Y'all
know what I'm
start set
saying?
up trap houses?
Oh, we was doing all kind of stuff. And the thing about it, what I'm grateful for though, because you know, even though my story goes into me getting a murder charge later on, I talk about it later on, that one of my friends who was with me with this clique, he's in Angola right now with 2 life sentences. You know, he has life and he also has 99 years.
Do you get it based on association with you guys and your clique?
No, it's something differently happened.
Oh, okay.
But I was supposed to be with him when it happened that night. And just so happened I didn't, you know. And I'm grateful. You know, it was really over a drug deal, and I'm grateful that I didn't get part of that process, because I could have. But I kept going, and eventually started getting deeper and deeper into the life. One thing to another, you know, I started getting into robberies more, you know, the ski mask thing, kicking in doors and things like that. And when I moved to the other side of town, you know, I had some young guys that wanted to hang with me because they heard about my life and heard how, you know, this gangster life, how I was living. They wanted to, you know, click up with me, but they was not on my level, you know. Or rather say they wasn't ready for that kind of life I was living, you know. And I ain't want nobody who had like this weakness with them that would want to tell if they get jammed up. So eventually, I ended up joining with a whole crew that's what they was about, you know. And when we got together, we began to be known as the Murder Gang by the
Damn.
police department.
Can I interject
let's
something, Vivian? It's from his early story, from being a single parent and how all the development. The irony in all of that is this story is still being played out over and over again right now in society. From 5 to 6, the environment that young black men and women are being brought up in is producing the same results, the same exact way, like no deviation. And I'm sitting there, and I know there's the problem, but I think about what is the solution to it. And there are solutions out there. They got the mentorships. They got a lot of things that are saving a few, but not all. I'll digress. But
Because I want to get there after we get through his story.
But let
'cause
me
I want
just-
to ask him that too.
But the biggest hole in all what I talked about is the education system from when the child goes to school and he goes back home. That gap between what happens between those two places is a wide gap between what the child sees in his home and what he learns, his values there, than what the school try to give him. And the child like, man, you're not my parent. It sounds good what you're trying to tell me to do. I'll follow rules and structure. But what you don't realize when I go home, my mom doesn't follow these guidelines where there's rules and structure. My mom let us roam. and have this freedom to go and do what we want. But in school, you're telling us to follow these guidelines. And I see that as an ongoing contrast today.
Yeah, because you know,
Keep telling the story.
and I just say this right quick, when you go out the house, your mom really trusts that you're gonna be doing the right thing.
Yeah.
She never expects, even to
you're
this,
going out robbing
Yeah, because
and hurting people.
even the stuff she did, when I get locked up and she'll come and find out what the charge, she was like, she wouldn't believe that was me doing this stuff. You know, she like, how do you?
I understand.
you able to-
Trust me, I used to represent the kids like you and have to talk to the mothers. They have no idea that their freedom, because most mothers, Danny, what you're not thinking about is they roam the street. Kids stayed outside when we grew up. When their mothers grew up, we stayed outside. We weren't doing wrong. We just stayed outside playing.
But I
so
was
they're
a
not
street lamp kid that when the light came on, you
right.
had to go
But
in.
it could be kids that's doing wrong, and then there's kids that's doing right. They just playing hide and go seek or riding their bicycles. Your mother don't know which one you're doing. They expecting you to do the right thing. So that's what I believe.
You know, I began to also distance myself from my mom as I got more into the street life. So I wasn't staying at home anymore. I was staying either by friend's house, and eventually, you know, I started staying with a girlfriend at a very young age. Well, actually, I had my apartment at 17. When I got out of jail, went to live with my mom, and shortly after living with my mom, I actually moved into an apartment with one of my friends. He actually passed away too. And that was just, we just having fun. We was young in the project, you know, staying up all hours of the night, just selling dope, just doing whatever. So yeah, she didn't really know half of the stuff I had going on, you know, to this day.
So y'all developed the murder gang.
We developed murder gang. And
About how old are you when that happens?
This is about 1920. Like I say, you know, going back to the John Gotti book, you know, my mindset is more him in this whole process. So I'm organizing this crew, and this crew that I'm organizing or having put together is a crew that will take hits, you know, contracted hits. Wow. And so that's what I began to lead off, a gang that was willing to take you completely out.
For a price.
For a price.
Wow, that's cold.
Easily. And all I can say that as my life began to progress into this lifestyle, you know, because it got worse, you know, I started getting into this life more and more, riding all day, you know, sometimes drinking Hennessy, snorting coke, snorting heroin. This stuff would actually make me more, how would I say this?
Invincible.
Violent.
More numb.
More violent.
Invincible. Feeling like nobody can stop us, not even the police. You know, thinking you're above the law, you know, to some
I
extent.
say it's delusional.
Very much so, because you're out of your mind, you know, when you're on this stuff, and you're not just, you know, I'm not just snorting coke and snorting heroin, but I'm mixing it together. So I'm really trying to get this effect out in my mind to where I don't want to feel what I'm doing, you know, I don't want to feel it. I just want to be numb to it.
No moral responsibility.
Yeah. No, you know, just no consciousness towards it. You know, to the point where eventually they started calling me Lucifer in the street. Yeah, that's how bad it got. I wore black every night, all day.
Wow.
You know?
So you started wanting to fit into the how they saw you.
Well, it's what I created in a sense.
So you created this image that made people start calling you Lucifer. Did you refer to yourself as Lucifer?
No, I never did. It's just
but that's what people were saying about
because they assumed
were they saying it's behind your back, or were they calling that to you to your face?
They call it to my face. I pull up at the club one night and they call me. One dude say Lucifer is because, you know, I was known to do evil.
Right.
You know, and I ran with it very evil crew.
It carried fear with that one.
Very much so. Very much so. We go to clubs, we go anywhere, the whole sidewalk will clear out when we walk through. You know?
Damn.
Here come Lucifer in this game.
You know.
So what stopped this? How bad did it get?
It got to a place where I began to have this moment where I began to talk to God. Late at night.
I mean, were you addicted to these drugs you were doing?
I won't always say I'm addicted, because it was more of a drug of choice that I felt like for pleasure's sake, just to feel or come down from the stuff that was going on. Because I know I had to stay out of conscience. And the stuff that I was doing, it would start playing on my mind. Eventually, when I'm by myself or, you know, just chilling, I start thinking. And I start thinking about, dang, you know, one day this stuff gonna come to an end. Because now this time somebody has put a hit on me too, for
Okay.
robbing them.
Okay.
And so they put a hitman on me. And the thing about it, the hitman came out to the club one night and he was able to actually see who I was. Somebody actually told him who I was. And when I walked over, this man had told me, say, man, if I knew that was you, I would never came out here. The guy gave me $2,500 to come kill you, and he won't get the other $2,500
Afterwards.
afterward. And he was known for, killing a person and burning them up in the car, leaving them like that. He said, but I can't do that. I know you. And he said, I got to give him money back. And that started a war, between me and the guys he actually sent.
The guy he hired.
The guy
Oh, the guy who hired him.
the guy who hired him.
Yeah, right.
It started a war, so.
So we're saying we only have 15 minutes, so I want to get to the murder and how long you did in prison and get to the book.
Okay, well, just briefly, after all this, still was going on, I end up having this moment with God, talking to God, saying, God, I want to change. I'm tired of this life. I need more than this, and I know it's more to life than this. And so shortly after that, I went by church and tried to, pray, and I didn't go in. I thought I was not worthy to walk in church. I thought I did so much stuff I didn't think God would even want to have nothing to do with me. But just so happened, probably about a week later, I ended up getting arrested for second-degree murder, 2 counts. And that whole experience brought me to jail. And not only brought me to jail, but that same year that I caught that charge in August, the 2 charges, I caught a possession of a firearm by convicted felon the month before that. And then that January, that same year, was another possession of cocaine charge. While I'm on probation, that 5-year probation I told you, and that was the last year of the probation. So I'm getting 3 felonies now on 5-year probation. So one thing, I'm going to have to back up to 7 years.
Right.
But while I'm in prison, or jail at the time, going through this whole court process, in the first week, this is when I actually give my life to God. And I begin to my eyes begin to open up, and to see, the life I've been living. And it's not because I was in jail, it's because this is what I've been wanting the whole time. But I had an image to live up to. And that was the thing that also was hard. Like me dropping all that and just going to be this square, I think, guy in my mind, it was kind of hard. Make a long story short, I went to court. They offered me life without parole.
They offered you life without
Life without parole. They say, Your Honor, this man is a
Did they have the evidence on the murders for you?
They had everything.
It was 2 murders?
It was 2 murders.
Okay.
And they say, Your Honor, this
Well,
man...
why wasn't it first-degree murder? Why was it second-degree? You know?
I don't recall.
Okay.
I don't recall.
And that's in Louisiana, because in Texas, we don't have first degree and second degree.
Yeah.
We just have murder, which intent.
Gotcha.
Intent to murder someone, or it can be manslaughter if it was, someone, there was a risk that someone didn't
Well,
appreciate the
the
risk.
thing is, they started off saying conspiracy to murder. Then they just slammed me with the murder charge.
Was it somebody that you'd actually murdered, or somebody else did it, or were y'all affiliated, or was it a shootout, or was it something? Okay. Something. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not asking you to confess to something. I'm saying, did they say they had the evidence to say it was you?
Yeah. It was a lot of hearsay, and they say this and that.
The
and all that.
prosecution said they had the evidence to prove that it was you. So your lawyers come and telling you this is the evidence that they say to prove that you did this.
But what happened was when the lawyer came to see me, he also had something circled on each charge, and he said, all this is circumstantial evidence.
Right.
Just keep your mouth shut.
Right.
You'll be out of here. And I believe it was all God's work. So what looked like was going to be a life sentence, because the DA was like, this man is a menace to society who do not deserve to be on the streets of Louisiana or anybody's street ever again in his life. And I just went back into the cell and thought that I was going to be literally getting that life sentence next time I go to court. But just so happened, it all turned around. And then turned around to where they started bringing me back to court. And some kind of way they started offering me different time, 22 years. And I went to court a series of events, a series of different times, and all of a sudden, I ended up coming out of that whole ordeal with 8 years.
What? The plea bargain was 8 years.
8 years.
So you jumped on that.
Yeah. Because I had...
Yeah, 7 do anyway.
I had 7 already, right?
So it's not 7 and 8, it's just 8 total.
8, because they ran 1 year concurrent and 1 year consecutive with the cocaine charge. I didn't want to keep on going to trial
It
with that
wasn't
one.
7 plus 8.
Nah.
It was just 8, just total 8.
Yes.
For,
Then
to
I'm
deal with all
dropping the
your
gun
cases.
charge, and then I'm dropping the murder charge to, accessory. How that all happened, I don't know how it all happened. Let's just say God worked it all out. And I ended up getting 8 years. And I was supposed to do 4 years on the 8 years, it's called in Louisiana law. Well, by me getting my life together and giving my life to God and changing my life around and just becoming a better person spiritually, the good Lord opened up a door for me, and I ended up getting recommended for early release parole on good behavior. And
After how many years?
So after 21 months.
Oh my God.
So I ended up coming home. I got parole in the 21 month. I came home that same year, November. So I ended up staying in jail 23 months the whole time.
And how old were you about when you got
I was
out?
25, making 26 that year. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and did you give your life to God at that point?
Yes,
I mean, what did
yes.
you do?
I gave my life to God.
How did you change your life after all that gangster studying and gangster
Reading
behavior?
that Bible, reading it and seeing how.
But the Bible is so old. I mean, it's over 2,000 years ago, and the stories aren't current. I mean, but you can do the metaphors. You can relate to it.
There's some magic off in
Yeah, no, it's some magic in there, but you have to definitely open your mind to that spiritual warfare and that spiritual lesson.
This in the book, it talks about what happened. In that first week of me being incarcerated on that charge, I had this encounter. This if you see at the bottom, it says salvation from the cell, the encounter.
The encounter.
People believe me, some people don't. But what happened was, as I'm making this deal with God about getting out and becoming a better person, this is before I go through the transformation process. I'm already thinking I'm ready to go already because I want to get right with Him. That room lit up. It was the hole. You know what the hole is, right? Yeah. No windows. And only a little light.
Were you in there by yourself?
By myself. That whole room lit up. Like a light just came shining up in that room. And I felt heat all over my body. And this voice spoke to me and said, you better work for me. And at that moment, I just dropped on my knees and cried. And that was the beginning of a spiritual awakening that I have never been able to go back to sleep from. And it's been 25 years.
Wow.
And to add to that, this is the same description that you hear many people describe when they get the visit from the Holy Spirit, is one of the ways they describe it. Or I've heard it described as my Moses on the mountain
that burning
experience,
yeah.
where I take off my shoes because this ground right here,
it's holy ground.
right. Yeah. So those are some of the, and well, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's mainly what started the process of change. So when you ask me how that was able to change from all that, well, one of the things I began to read about was thou shalt not kill. And I'm like, I'm coming against you, God, doing this? Because I'm taking the authority of taking somebody's life that I don't have the authority to do that with. And all that started making me see that it's not them I'm doing this to. I'm doing this against you. You're the creator. You're creating these people's lives, and I'm out here trying to take them. You know, so it just made me want to change from that. My heart was too messed up. I had all that anger in me from the childhood, all that hate, and just this evil that had just been in my mind for so long. I just wanted to cleanse it all out. And that's what happened in those 23 months. 23 months I was in there. Just a lot of reading, a lot of Bible.
So now you're not reading John Gotti. You're reading the Bible now.
I'm reading the Bible now. I'm not reading John Gotti books anymore.
I will say this: you make a strong case for those who believe in God.
Praise God.
Based on the story of what happened and how what happened changed.
Yeah.
And when you point to the encounter, that's a lot of evidence, not based on the light in the cell, but the story you told long before with the reading, I'm the Lucifer, and I want to kill him, and I'm gonna kill everybody in the house if they better been glad they moved out before I could get back.
Man, the story.
So that's an amazing transformation.
So when you say thou shalt not kill and you start manifesting this life, how did you walk out of that cell in the dangerous streets of Louisiana and change? And now you're in Houston. So I mean, how did you manifest the change?
You know,
because like you said, when you're still in your 20s, you're just 25, almost 26, and so the pressure's still there. You're still Lucifer to everybody. You're still a gangster to everybody. How did you break that chain?
Consistency. I would say that. When I came home, I got into a good support system. The brothers who had been coming to the jail to talk to me from the church, they were there for me the night I came home. I got out at 12:01 midnight. I went straight to the church and got baptized. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, and my mom thought I had broke out. You know, she didn't believe it was me knocking on the door. She thought I broke out of jail because she didn't know this was going to happen. She thought I was going to be locked up, you know. It was a miracle for people to see me walk back out there. But when I got out, I got into the church, became a youth pastor. I started going to college for business administration. I started holding gospel concerts on the campus. I started traveling with my pastor, became his like armor bearer, supporting him wherever he goes. And I just started staying consistent. And I was going to a university I thought I never was going to actually go to because I got locked up in my senior year. That was my plan, was to go to college that year after I graduated. But I got my
Where'd you get your
I got my GED in jail.
that 1 year?
Yeah.
When you did that
I got
one year?
No, when I got that 23 months.
Okay, you got your GED
Yeah,
then.
I got my
okay.
GED and I passed it like in the first time I even took it. You know, I actually scored the highest score in a year for GED in that state. So that was impressive, you know, to have my brain cells coming back from all the drugs that I've been
Really?
putting there, you know what I'm saying? But when I came home, what was ironic, or what was interesting, I would say, I ended up standing on the same corner that I used to sell dope on and cut up and do all this stuff on in the neighborhood I was at, and get picked up by two of the students that was going to school with me. It was an older lady and her daughter. They was pick me up on that same corner to go to school that I used to do all that stuff at, and which was very surprising because these kids who had heard about me, now they're seeing me with a backpack on my back going to a university for business administration.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And from there, how did you get to Houston?
I got to Houston. I got put on parole when I came home. I was on 7-year parole, and it was probably about 2007.
Did you have to do all your time in Louisiana on
parole?
your parole time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
It
that's when
was-
you were going to college.
Yeah.
Did you get to graduate?
I didn't get a graduate. I actually got married. I met a young lady on campus, and we ended up getting married. And of course, that marriage went downhill. In that 7 years I was on parole, we ended up going through a lot of things, and that was one of the things I felt like was pushing me to get out of Louisiana because I started seeing the relationship go down. But I started praying, and, I'm like, God, where you want me to go? Where you want me to be? And I remember one day I just felt like Houston was put on my heart, and I said, okay, well, give me confirmation. 3 confirmations came that day. My sister called me from Houston. I saw a bus from Houston that day, same day, and I ended up meeting some kids that had came on a mission trip from Houston. All 3 signs that day. And I said, oh, well, this gonna be it. Well, I still didn't leave at first. I stayed there still trying to fight with the marriage and things like that, see if it was gonna work. And at this time, I had even started like Bible studies in the area and things like that, trying to teach people who were in the projects and stuff like that how to come to God. But I ended up coming to Houston after I seen that marriage not gonna make it. And I said, okay, it's time for me to leave. And that's how I ended up coming to Houston.
Wow.
So I've been here 16 years.
You got a chance to reconcile with your father when you came.
Oh yeah, I got a chance to reconcile, even lead him. And one of the things he said to me before he passed, he came to see me speak at a storefront in Greenspoint. It was a smoothie, a vegan restaurant. And I was up in there using their spot to teach Bible studies on Sunday evening. I started getting packed. That was my first year in Houston. And he saw me from the street. And he said to me, son, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're gonna be bigger than Joel Osteen one day. And I don't know if that was what he imagined, but he was speaking that life on me. And this was good because my dad was never in my life the whole time growing up. And if anything a father could have left his child before he left this earth, was that blessing to encourage him to continue to grow and
Right.
expand and become great. And that word is still resonating in my head every time I think about
The seed he left.
this and the things I'm doing right now, because now I produce, now I got an author, I'm an author, now I'm a speaker, now I do all this stuff, I'm an actor, I got all this stuff, I'm on a movie set right now. I mean, all these things have manifested in these last 16 years
Right.
of being in Houston. I've grown to become something I never would have thought I'd become coming from those streets.
Did you ever have anger? Did you ever have counseling because of that anger that you had?
I've been to counseling. I was in mental hospitals 3 times. I stayed in them for months.
Here?
In Louisiana.
In Louisiana, okay.
I've been to so much. In AA, I would fail all my drug tests on my probation the whole time I was on.
Well, I'm just saying, a lot of people, when they really find God or find their purpose, I've noticed that it's the mental health treatment that you do voluntarily that kind of helps you if you want to get it.
No,
Did you need to do that?
I ain't need it.
So your God and your spiritual walk was enough for you.
Oh man, yes.
And you don't do drugs no more? No. Do you drink?
I've drank before, and I've drank here and there, but what made me stop drinking altogether was recently when I started seeing my, not that I stopped drinking recently, it's just that it made me start thinking, should I even consider drinking anymore? Because my uncle just passed away from cancer, and that's all he did.
Oh, he drank a lot.
Drank a lot, and it ate his pancreas up.
But did you get over the anger, or are you still angry?
Now I've gotten over a lot of it.
Since you were what always fascinates me about how people who would rob can just stop. You don't do that anymore. You don't violate other people anymore. That doesn't cross your mind when your money goes down.
Well, I say this, being spiritually awakened, it brought about a respect for this creator that created me to where.
I mean, do you respect the fact that I have worked hard for the car I'm in? Would you want to come take it
No,
from me? I'm just saying, like, I'm just using me.
Yeah, I have more respect for people now.
That's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
because I understand who people are now.
Okay.
At one time, I was blind to that. You know, I respect people, and I don't have that come across my mind. Okay. So far as the anger was still, the anger was in me. But what happened was, by me walking with God, I learned to forgive so much to where it came out of me. Even to this day, when somebody offend me or say something or do something that I can see my mind could have went there, I have to quickly forgive them and ask God to remove that anger out of my heart.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't walk in anger, because out of all the years I've been walking with God, my anger has risen at times.
Right.
But not to the point where, well, let me say this. Not to the point where I've actually
acted on it.
Acted to the point where it was like it used to be.
Let me ask you this too. A lot of people, I know we're getting close to the end, but I want to say this. A lot of people who watch that abuse, domestic abuse, repeat that habit. So when you got a wife, when you were in college, did you have the urge to fight your wife?
Well, she was the fighter.
I know, but you can fight her
Yeah,
back. A lot of men really feel justified when their wife beat on them. They feel like they can beat them back.
See, the thing is,
were you strong enough to walk away? Or
I had to. I was on parole.
Is that the only reason?
Well, that was a lot of the reason. Because my arms with my, and then on top of that, we ended up moving in the house with her mom and dad. Mm-hmm. So I was really tired. I couldn't do nothing. She had me all the way bent out. You know what I'm saying? So
did y'all have children?
We had one child. My son Judah. He's in LSU right now, and my other son is in college too. But that's what happened with that situation. I never physically hit her, but she's physically hit me. Okay. I grabbed her, you know, trying to stop her from hitting me. Have you learned not to hit women?
Yes,
I guess. Of course, yes.
Okay, now we're getting a signal in this wonderful conversation, very interesting conversation, that we have 1 minute. So wrap it up and show your book.
Well,
we can't invite people to pay for anything, but we just want to show you what his journey has done.
Well, this book right now, Salvation from a Cell, The Encounter, is out right now. Of course, on Amazon. It's an interesting story. I plan to turn it into a stage play, also a movie if it's possible.
What do you think people can learn from your book or your experience?
Well, hope.
Hope, okay.
Hope, definitely hope for even a family member, maybe a son or a daughter or a cousin or anybody who you may feel like all hope is gone with them. And there's no possible way that they can change. And that's how it was for me. People really didn't think I was going to ever come out of this. Even the people that knew me, they thought that give him 2 years, he'd be back. And I outlasted all those years.
And you never went back to prison?
Never went back to jail.
Never went back to jail.
No.
That's a fabulous thing. Do you have anything you want to say at the end? Because, we got 1 minute, and I know that I appreciate you sacrificing your time all these years. I'm coming to 8 years at the DA's office. We worked together at least a couple of years. That's why I'm knowing we've been doing this at least 10 years. It's been a long time, little brother. But anyway, what do you have to say?
Path of Freedom is a support group that meets every Thursday from 5:37 at St. John's downtown. It's built for men and women returning from jails and prison, 2019 Crawford Street. So anybody in the listening audience that has a family member returning back from jail and prison and needs a support group to deal with the challenges of reintegration, meet us at St. John's on Thursdays, 5:37, Path of Freedom Ministry, 2019 Crawford Street.
So I'm so glad that you were here to watch our show tonight. Spread the word. And we put our shows on YouTube. Thank you again, Tavares. Is there anything you want to say? Because we're being told to wrap it up.
Well, I want to say thank you, Vivian, for allowing me to come on your show. I was here several years ago, but now, once again, I got this book out and telling the story. And thank you for allowing me to come and share my story with this platform once again. And Brother Sneed, right?
That was an amazing story, man.
Thank you, man. And
gave me a little hope.
We've also have crossed paths several times, so thank you, man. I appreciate it. Y'all even being here and listening to this.
Well, congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
Looking forward to reading it.
Gotcha. Yes, we're really proud of him for doing this book. I know that takes a lot of time and effort and energy. We all have a book in us. Let's share this book of going down the wrong path, but then hope, and that encounter with God from a prison cell. So thank you for watching, and we'll be bringing you the next story in a few weeks. Thank you. Good night. The hot topic in the news this week's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try